In this video, I'm going to be talking with you about the Blueprinters. Now, this video is part of my Starseed collection I've kind of been sharing with. Although when we talk about the Blueprinters, we're not exactly talking about a star seed, although sometimes when you're looking for information, you can use this term to bring up information on Blueprinters. So we're going to be talking about what exactly it means to have a Blueprinter soul origin. I'm going to be talking about the characteristics of a blueprinter, and I'm going to be channeling information that will help bring light into what wants to be known now if you are someone that is of a blueprinter soul origin. So if you are watching this video and you've been brought here. I'm so excited that you're here. If this is your first time, my name is Cassandra Deanne. I am a certified galactic astrologer. I am a channeler, a trance channeler, and I read the Akashic records. So, that said, welcome, welcome. And I want to start off by just saying a little bit up front that this is my soul origin. So there is other content on my channel that you can check out where I've kind of approached it from different angles as far as pieces and bits, even including the video years ago I did that was before I was a galactic astrologer, where I was really kind of coming to terms with what it even meant for me to be a blueprinter. So I do want to start off in sharing a little bit of my story and why I'm recording this video and why I feel it's important. So, my journey was that I had a spontaneous spiritual awakening. And shortly after, I had an Akashic Records reading. And in the reading, the Kayla, who was incredible, she still does readings today, but she told me that my soul origin was Blueprinter. She suggested that I pick up a book called Secrets of the Garden by Dolores Cannon and told me not to fret if this was unsettling, take what resonates. And, she kind of left me with that. I had not heard of anything about star seeds per se. It was all very new language. And I didn't really feel like at that time in my life, I was ready to explore it until I then months later found another intuitive and decided to join a program to learn more about my intuition and my gifts. And upon meeting her, it was also shared again that I was a blueprinter. And it just so happens that she, which was Emily the Mystic, which I've done a video on the blueprinters with, and she was a blueprinter too. So then I decided, okay, I think it's time for me to kind of check this out. And then fast forward years later, I felt very called to a program, Galactic Astrology with Julia Blaz. And part of that program, there is a lot of conversation about blueprinters. So this has been an important part of my journey. So, in this reflection and sharing, I'm going to give not only some of the star seed traits, but I'm going to give you some examples of how it's played out in my own life and some of the very, very key important aspects of understanding when you have this origin and some of the themes your life may have. So that's kind of the beginning of my journey of exploring or going down this topic. I think now I'm going to take a moment before I go in further because I do feel already a strong channel energy. So I am going to take a moment and connect pretty quickly for this video and honor the energy that I sense is being present with me in channeling the blueprinters. So I'm going to talk with you next about why the blueprinters aren't considered a starseed. And I do have a video that goes into this on different directions regarding other energy types as well, because the blueprinters are not the only ones. There are other energy types, such as the angelic realm and the Acturian energy, there that are group consciousness. I'm just going to take a moment to breathe, to connect really quick. I invite you, if you're with me, to take a breath to relax into your body. And I'm just going to call in the highest frequency of love and light Call upon Archangel Michael. Call upon the Blueprinters energy frequency to help us in channeling information that is most relevant for collectively to understand regarding this energy type. Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So let's talk a little bit about soul origins and group consciousness. So as I mentioned, you can watch this video here. I'll link it. That will talk a little bit about it. I'm going to give a short condensed version of it here because it's very relevant to proceed further. The idea is that when we are looking at the beginning, meaning the beginning, like in the Bible, in the beginning, you could say whatever resonates, but the very beginning of all, you can say that there was this individualized or originating source of energy, whether we want to call this God, source, universe, cosmic intelligence, whatever this is. And this energy frequency had the thought, I wonder what it would be like to know myself. And in that, then the energy fragmented into different expressions or archetypes. And one of the first of those expressions were the blueprinters. Now, like I said, they were not the only ones. There is the Acturians, there's the angelic realm. I did a video on the Blu-rays, which if you want to explore that, you can watch this video. In that video, I talk about a lot about the Blu-rays and the differences between blueprinters and Blu-rays. The key aspect here to understand is basically these first fragmentations had a certain area of interest, you could say, or what they kind of contributed to the whole of the process that eventually continued to fragment the group consciousness down to more and more expressions that ultimately came to the I expression, which is where we have the concept of incarnation and we start taking physical form. So, to answer the question in the beginning, why aren't the blueprinters considered starseeds? Neither are the Blu-rays, because they are not originating from a particular star system. They are originating from energy source frequency and group consciousness. So this is why when you're looking up information about blueprinters, a lot of times you'll want to put blueprinter soul origin. Now, another piece that I want to share with this, and I'm just tuning in now because I want to be able to share it with the most upright accuracy. Again, I'm going to say with this concept, I definitely invite you to sit with what resonates with you because I'm someone that believes that there are various different experiences, there's various different truths. And that's all up to your soul's experience. And I feel that the people that are for you, you'll be drawn to. So I always encourage people to take what they feel is true for where you are right now. And I know for me in my journey, what felt true to me varied and changed over time. As I said in the beginning, I wasn't ready to accept these concepts. It took some time. So trust in your own personal journey and timing. And I'm hearing yes. So, what I'm going to say is this according to what I feel resonates and what I'm channeling, is these origins are not things that typically you would find people going back to. So, for example, if you are a blueprinter, if you are a Blu-ray, if you are an angelic realm, soul origin, it is not within what I'm feeling the energy to share that it is common, or I'm not going to give absolutes, but it is very unlikely that you can be of one origin and then decide to reincarnate into these energies, because these energies are not things that are incarnated into. They are original source fragmentations of an archetype. They are group frequency. So you can say that if you were to be in a physical incarnation on earth right now and you were to die and pass and decide, yeah, I'm good, and you were returning to group source energy, you would return to the collective consciousness, which is the container of all. not necessarily something to incarnate into. And I'm using the best language I can to try to explain this. So, if you are a blueprinter, this is a soul origin. Chances are it is a from there, you then may have been other expressions. You may have been an Andromedan, you may have been a Palladian, you may have been in a physical body of other star seeds, but the origin would always be a part of who you are, which would be whatever that group consciousness was. Okay, so I wanted to state that because I think that can also be one confusing factor. Another thing I feel I'm inclined to share is a lot of times people can associate blueprinters with the frequency when, like we're talking about the chakras, have rays of energies. And this is also in when we're looking at the expression of source energy and vibration, each color ray has a quality and energy, a frequency. So often blueprinters can be associated with the ray of blue. And I'm saying it that way because that is another confusion to where sometimes you can say, I am associated with the Blu-ray. Am I a blueprinter or am I a Blu-ray origin? Also, because Archangel Michael is often associated with blueprinters and Blu-rays. So again, I did a video on this because it's nuanced, but it's actually very specific. There's a very different energy if you are a Blu-ray versus a blueprinter. So in this video, we're going to focus on blueprinters. But yes, blueprinters are very associated equally with the Blu-ray and with Archangel Michael, which this means when you're talking about the Blu-ray, this is the throat chakra. That means in your life, there is a degree in which you may have this ability to speak out on what needs to be changed, speak out on adjustments, to have a presence of spirit channel, throat chakra, again, that encourages or activates others. Your energy can be one that maybe stirs people. People either love you or hate you. There's a directness that can come from you. You're not one usually to fluff things up. These are all qualities that are associated with the frequency of Blu-ray. And again, you can have the Blu-ray a part of your experience, your soul's essence, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a blueprinter or a Blu-ray. And the best way to define or find this out is by having an Akashic Records reader. Galactic astrology, like I said, I'm very trained in this, and able to quickly pick up different factors that both in charts and in your Akashic records help to clarify your soul origins. Okay, so now that we've got that covered, let's go into some of the other aspects. So, another thing that is common about blueprinters is there is, first off, not that much information out there, which is why I felt inspired to share content. Because as a blueprinter myself, when this information was realized, there was not a lot of resources out there. There wasn't a lot of information for me to digest about that. So, this is partly why I want to share this content. So, one of the things I'm going to go into in this video is that, especially older content that refers to blueprinters, a lot of times they will list different subcategories. And these are the originators, the designers, the technicians, deliverers, and changers. And in my own personal work, I've channeled lots of energy. In my own personal work that I've channeled, I have received information that says that this is less relevant now than what it may have been many, many, many years ago to understand the different nuance expressions of blueprinters. But I will lightly go into those throughout the video. So if that is language you're familiar with, keep watching and we're going to dive in a little further to that. Okay, so we talked about the idea of the origins, that this was an early information. So I want to share a few other nuances of my own experience through galactic astrology that you may not see per se on other content that is out there. Some of it you may. One thing you absolutely will find out there is that blueprinters have the journey of balancing their head and heart. And as a blueprinter in my life experience, I can say that this is so huge. It is a big part of things because what essentially the blueprinter energy was, what the archetype of this frequency was, is the energy contribution was if you were to say, okay, we're going to have this incarnation experience. Let's just kind of look at it from a silly, mundane perspective, like a matrix type level. And you're going to say, okay, let's call it a game. Okay. So if you were, let's say, a game developer, you would have to look at things and say, okay, we want to have this game. And all right, what's the game about? What's going to want people to play the game? How is the game designed? Like, is it a board game? Are we talking coding? Is it something what are the pieces involved in the game? Okay. Well, all right. So we're problem solving, we're thinking, we're shooting around ideas. Okay, well, there's a game. We have an idea of that. All right, but how do people play it? Like, what are the rules? Are there rules to the game? Like, what are the boundaries or the structures? These are all energies that the blueprinters were involved in. They were involved in the development of different areas, often associated with mostly energy, in developing and creation of the matrix. Okay. And there are so many layers to this, and I'm going to try to make this video not incredibly long. But in general, if we're looking at the whole, this is the energy of blueprinters. Where it is different, giving a very brief example, because I said these group consciousness had archetypes, expressions, and that's another thing. Blueprinters are very good about pinpointing archetypes, which is why, as an astrologer, I can talk to someone and say, oh, okay, I see that Scorpio energy, or the way they're talking about their home, they probably have this and that placement. I can pick up on the energy signatures, which is something else that blueprinters are very gifted at. So if we're looking at it from a general scope, this is their area of interest versus, for example, another energy type of group consciousness was the angelic realm. Well, the angelic realm had a very different interest. They were, how can I support? How can I share or communicate or relay information? How can I assist the incarnation process? How can I oversee how things are going? How can I be an in-between to help people when the player needs an upgrade? I don't know, or a special word of wisdom. And angelic realm is very much service support, godlike energy frequency, where the blueprinters are like more concerned about the areas I shared. It's like all the other aspects of things. Okay, so this is why you can see it's a meaty topic in and of itself of an energy. So yes, the blueprinters are one of the few exceptions that have various different subcategories that were once upon a time referred to. Now, the reason I feel like my guides are saying it is not that relevant to this day is because the energy frequency pot has meshed, is what I'm hearing. The things that were very specific once upon a time earlier in the consciousness development of let's say humanity, for example, that energy is now evolved and changed, so it's not as relevant. But let's explore it because it's out there. So I'm going to break it down kind of like in these ideas of playing a game, and I'm going to kind of look at my notes. I will show you afterwards how you can pull up my website, and I have a lot more content on this, but there's so much for me to cover that I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible. So I'm going to just give you an idea, but if this particular content calls to you, please go to my site and look it up and learn more, because there's a lot more that will outline this in that resource. Okay, so we're going to start with the originators. Now, the originators, you could say, is, and when I gave the example, I was the people that are like, okay, I have this idea, let's have this game. Okay, this is the energy of the originators. It's kind of the energy that if you have a blueprinter originator energy, that chances are you're good at coming up with ideas, your creative problem solving. They're kind of the overseeing or project manager energy. And this, I think, is the best summary in brief to give the idea of how the different pieces come to play. So the originators would be like the people that are like, I have an idea. Let's come up with a game. Let's have a matrix. Let's have, whatever it is. Okay. Then the designers are the next energy that comes on. And these energies also are very rare to have originators or designers. They're not as common energy signatures, but the designers were kind of like what listened to the originator, which would be like the project manager, the overhead, and said, okay, I hear you. We're going to come up with a game. And then they're going to start thinking, and they're thinking, okay, what would that game look like? And who wants to play a game? Because both pieces play. So because of this, the designers are more likely to be a little more empathic as it relates to the blueprinters types because they were the ones that were thinking more of both sides because they were thinking, okay, yes, we're going to have this game, but someone's going to have to want to play it because otherwise, why are we building a game? So they tend to be a little more empathic than some of the other blueprinter energy types. So they also had a concern of balance because here you can see these two sides. It's like I can create all day long. I can make all sorts of beautiful things and games and containers, but yet what is it what is that serving? So there is that balance a little bit more with that energy that says, okay, this is what we want to create and this is kind of what it might feel like, or this is why people might want to participate, and it evaluates that. So these are also energies that are able to look at those things and then take it the next step and take the originator's idea and say, okay, I hear you. I hear you want to make a game, but maybe people will enjoy playing this more if it's a board game versus something on a screen. I'm just using silly examples to help you see how the chain of creation would go. So the designer would take the idea and evaluate those sort of things. Then it comes to the technician. Now, this is my personal soul origin is blueprinter technicians. So the designer, the originators, the designers take it and they come to the technicians and they say, okay, here are our thoughts. How can you create the container? How can you create the structures, the borders, the energy to hold the plan? So they were the energy that is utilizing creating, let's say if it was a board game, yes, like it needs to look like this. It needs to be this structure. If it's these colors, people are more apt to maybe be drawn to it. This is more energetically aligned. Okay, so how that translates in the world now is technicians such as myself are gifted in spotting archetypes, being sensitive to environmental energy, not necessarily empathic, but environmental energy. Sound or color could be some of your gifts, sacred geometry, looking at patterns. These are things that could be your gifts if you are a blueprinter technician. So the technician took the ideas and began to create the container, the game of what was being born. All right, so then from there you have the deliverers. Okay, so now this energy is pretty neat because they were gifted with adaptability and being able to look over the whole of things and the creation of things. You could say these were kind of like an energy of like if you had a quality control, it's like, okay, I know that you want to create this game. I know who you want to play it. I know the technicians are trying to work and pull that together, the container to hold the plan, but I'm going to kind of look over and see how this is going, where we need to tweak things, how we need to present it or share it, and where we need adjustments. So it kind of is, if you have this energy of the deliverers, You probably have an ability to kind of be a glue that holds things together. And you probably have an eye for detail and being able to spot what needs adjustments and spot what needs to be kind of the next step of creation. So it's like, okay, I see this, but now let's take it a step further. Now let's refine it a little bit more. So an eye for detail for sure. Um, that's how I would say I would describe that energy. And then the last energy would be the changers. Now, the changers energy is described as this is a frequency that kind of may have their hands in various aspects of the process because they want to understand all the different layers because their energy is like, okay, you can look at this as, okay, we've made this creation. Now, how are we selling it? So it's the spokesperson, the person that's able to describe the game. This is what you'll experience. This is why you may want to have this journey. This is what you need to keep in mind while you're playing. So they have a gift for sort of articulation and communication, being able to share what will be experienced, because that's the thing. If we look at it, if we're looking at the language changers, well, let's go back and look at what we're talking about. We're talking about incarnation. Why are we incarnating? We incarnate because we're consciousness wanting to experience itself. I said that in the beginning. I wonder what it would be like to know myself. Okay, so this is why we're playing the game, to have the experiences, to know, well, what happens when you have experiences? You change, you grow, you learn, you evolve. And that's the essence, the nature of everything. Okay. So that is the summary of those energies. So you can see here, based on the things that I described, there could be many different characteristics that you may individually possess as a blueprinter. Now I want to channel and tune in to see what other information wants to come forward. Already, they're saying go back to head and heart, which I did say it was an important aspect. Um, of course, I'm so interested in the structure. I skimmed over that part after saying it was important. Okay, so head and heart, why is this important? Because part of the biggest experience the blueprinter is here to have is to play the game, to experience the game. It's easy to be caught up in the structure, the logistics, because let me tell you, blueprinters can be very much caught up in logistics. They may love the structures, the dots, the astrology, the systems, but why? We have to remember that why, the heart, the experience, the love, the connection, the playing the game, being a part of the human experience. It's not just about, a game wouldn't be any fun if you didn't feel something with it. So this is where that balancing of head and heart can be a challenge because I'll speak simply from myself, and maybe you may relate. I like structures. I like understanding why things are the way they are. I like understanding that, seeing the dots connect. I think it's so neat when I look at, my astrology chart and I can see how I'm all the different aspects in all the different places. I love sharing that with others. But if we don't add the feeling, the heart, the remembrance of why we're playing the game, then we're not evolving and growing. We're just appreciating the system. And even that is quantum and ever evolving. So, what are the challenges? What does the challenges look like? Oh, and that activates my heart just saying it. The challenges are being overly reliant on a system. The challenges are the stories and beliefs we create around things that we cling to for safety or security. Mm. This one's hitting home, so I'm having to breathe through it because I'm trying not to be emotional. That's the other thing. Blueprinters aren't always the most emotional in the sense of feeling comfortable expressing it. So I'm going to give a very light example of this. So in my personal journey, I have a Capricorn moon, which is a challenging placement. It's also a beautiful thing, but I tend to look at the systems in ways that my beliefs are, I'll do something and I'll recognize the archetype as, oh, that's something someone would do that has a Capricorn moon. That's something someone would do that has a Capricorn moon. Okay. When I do that, I'm attaching a system. I'm not attaching the feeling, the personal experience, the human quality of it. I'm not saying it's okay, I'm having an emotional moment. It's been a challenging day. I'm attaching a system to justify what I'm experiencing because that feels more comfortable than being human and just allowing. Mm. So there is very much a theme there can be with blueprinters in how much you're relying on the logic, how much safety you're finding in the structures. Can you be in the game? Can you just play the game? Can you appreciate the connections? Can you appreciate the imperfections? Can you appreciate the journey, the mistakes? Oh, okay. All right. All right, I'm gonna tune in and see what other channeled information wants to come through. There's so much energy right now. I'm feeling, I'm just having a moment of gratitude for the energy that's showing up, and I'm asking, what else would you like to be covered? We have to move beyond the systems. We have to move beyond the systems. The creation has to continue to evolve. Hmm. I just invite you, if you are with me and you're listening, to close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths, because if you feel called to pause, there is so much energy and love right now that wants to connect with you. This is powerful, high vibrational frequency. I wouldn't be surprised if you receive your own intuitive hits or downloads in this moment of presence. We have to move beyond the systems. This is so important. What I'm hearing them say is this is why also there is less interest in discussion of subcategories, because the energy is calling us back to one. It's calling us back away from labels. The labels serve their purpose in helping the individual to understand who they are. But it is time to come back to unity consciousness. It is time to remember where it started and why it started. And that's experience, connection, love, emotion. I'm hearing that also blueprinters are often possibly seen as outsiders, those who may be perceived as cold. They may be individuals that resonate with being on the spectrum as we may know it. You have a gifted mind. Part of the balance is in allowing all aspects of yourself to be present. It's not in forgetting who you are. It's not in ignoring aspects. You can enjoy the things you enjoy. You have many talents. You are very bright. Enjoy those things, embrace those things, but the balance, the understanding that it is not all. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to make sense. All of the dots don't always connect. And if you feel like you live your life trying to constantly connect dots, you will run yourself into exhaustion. For there are things that simply just are not meant to be known. This has to be enough. This has to be accepted. And I'm asking for this present time when our systems in around the world are changing and shifting. What guidance would you have for blueprinters, how they express in the world? In the days to come, there will actually be an uprise in interest. Then people that are especially delayed in coming around will find more comfort in logic. It will serve its place, it will serve its time in a way that it's not been experienced previously to a new level, new degree. This is good. This is well. But again, the experience isn't to realize the system, the structure that designed it. Ooh. I'm hearing say that again. All right, help me say that again. The experience isn't to appreciate the structures, boundaries, systems that created the experience, the game. It's for the evolution, the feeling, the emotion, the connection that is the result of the container. But the container is not finite. It is not absolute, and it will change. Thank you. This is an intense energy. All right, I'm gonna disconnect. Is there anything else? No, that is all. Thank you. I thank you for this energy frequency. I ask that you would please disconnect now, allowing me to ground and balance back into my body. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. All right. Well, that was a lot. Yep. That was a lot of information. I did my best to present it as simplistic as I possibly could. If you do want to dive more, let me show you really quick how to at least pull up my resource page on my site. I'm going to share my screen. My website is CassandraDeanne.com. You would basically go to where it says galactic and go to resources. I have a lot of the starseed energy frequencies I've talked about in some of my other videos here that you can sort through. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I know I talked today about the Blu-rays in the angelic realm. You can find more there as well. But this is Blueprinters. You click there. Here you can see I share channeled information about the Blueprinters. I share here how you can book a reading and find out from the Akashic Records if you are a Blueprinter soul origin. And here I break down the different energy types with a lot more detail. Originator, designer, technician, deliverer, changer. So that's where you can find that resource on my website. And while I'm here, if you do want to book a session, you would just go to Discovery. This is a one-time session that you can do that will go into your Akashic records. It'll cover your soul origins. It'll cover past lives. We'll talk about all sorts of things. If you're looking for a more transformative service that dives even deeper, that has an experience that kind of walks you through your essence to where you can thrive and be your fullest, your most absolute self. Transformation in relationships and focus and where you're putting your energy. I'm hesitant to use the word purpose because we have more than one purpose. And our purpose essentially is to be the fullness of ourself, which is why I like to talk about these things. But you can go check out my soul journey package. This is essentially multiple sessions. It saves money over time than if you were to individually book each session. And this allows you to have someone to be there through integration, through, aligning to the fullness essence of who you are. A lot of times when you discover these things, even watching this video, it unlocks, when I say I'm feeling energy, take a breath, connect to it. It is transformative. I'm not saying that just because it's fun. I'm saying saying it because it is there. And if you are receptive, it is transformative. And these sessions are these videos, they activate a remembrance that's already there. My working with me is just a way to start really applying language and understanding to fully digest this. And when you do, your life changes. It changes quickly. And so my sessions, my package are there to help you integrate through those changes. My clients are able to come to me and say, oh my gosh, this has changed. How do I navigate this? How do we work through this? And I can look at their blueprint, their essence of blueprinters, their essence of who they are. That's what I do as a blueprinter. That's like my love language, helping people understand their blueprint. Oh, I love how that came together. Okay. So if you are interested in working with me to kind of dive into deeper into your essence, check out my work. I would love to connect with you. Another piece I love about my package is connection, community. We come together once a month and share what we're going through, balancing that head and heart, right? Having those connections, those personal experiences. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. And I am going to invite you to subscribe if this has resonated with you. Check out the description. I leave lots of cool links in there with helpful resources. And until next time, bye.